The 1970s gave us television gold, but between those classics lurked a collection of shows that made you wonder if the network executives were spending a little too much quality time with their lava lamps. This was the decade that greenlit everything from invisible federal agents to talking apes in space. These 9 weird shows were products of an era when TV was bold, experimental, and occasionally completely unhinged. Most lasted about as long as a disco song on the radio, but they're fascinating time capsules of when primetime television was willing to get genuinely weird. Number 1, Gemini Man, 1976. NBC's Gemini Man followed Sam Casey, a government agent who could turn invisible thanks to a special wristwatch, because apparently regular spy gadgets weren't cutting it anymore. Ben Murphy starred as the see-through secret agent who had exactly 15 minutes of invisibility before his molecules would permanently scatter, which sounds less like a superpower and more like a really inconvenient medical condition. Gemini Man disappeared after just 11 episodes, which was fitting given its central gimmick. The show suffered from a tiny budget that made the special effects look like someone was playing with a broken television set, and plots that seemed written by committee during a particularly uninspired lunch break. Murphy went on to better things, but this invisible flop remains a curious footnote in his career. Number 2, Future Cop, 1976 to 1977. Future Cop was what happened when someone at ABC watched The $6 Million Man and thought, you know what this needs? More awkward android humor. The show featured Ernest Borgnine as a gruff police detective paired with John Amos as Haven, an android cop from the year 2020, who was supposed to be the ultimate law enforcement officer, but mostly just confused everyone around him. The premise had potential. Buddy cop show meets science fiction, but the execution was about as smooth as a square wheel. Haven was programmed to be the perfect police officer, which in television terms meant he was comically literal, emotionally tone-deaf, and prone to mechanical malfunctions at dramatically convenient moments. Borgnine, an Oscar winner reduced to explaining basic human emotions to a robot, delivered his lines with the enthusiasm of someone reading a grocery list. The show lasted exactly 1 season, though it felt longer to anyone who actually watched it. The chemistry between Borgnine and Amos never quite clicked, and the writing couldn't decide if it wanted to be a serious science fiction or campy comedy. Future Cop proved that putting respected actors in ridiculous situations doesn't automatically create television magic. Sometimes it just creates television. If you remember actually sitting through Future Cop or any of these gems, hit that like button and drop a comment and subscribe. We've got 7 more wonderfully weird shows to get through. Number 3, The Fantastic Journey from 1977. NBC's The Fantastic Journey was lost before Lost was even a gleam in J.J. Abrams' eye, except with worse special effects and more polyester. The show followed a group of travelers trapped in the Bermuda Triangle, bouncing between different time zones and dimensions while searching for a way home. Think Quantum Leap meets Gilligan's Island, but with significantly less charm than either. The cast included Jared Martin as a scientist, Carl Franklin as a doctor, and Ike Eisenman as a psychic teenager, because apparently every 1970s adventure show needed a kid with mysterious powers, right? They wandered through various time periods and parallel worlds, encountering everything from Atlantean civilizations to futuristic societies, usually while wearing the same clothes week after week. The journey ended after just 10 episodes, leaving the characters presumably still wandering through time and space, looking for both a way home and a decent script. The show has since gained a small cult following among fans of 1970s science fiction, though whether that's nostalgia or Stockholm Syndrome remains unclear. Number 4, Super Train from 1979. NBC's Super Train was supposed to be the Love Boat on rails, but it ended up being more like Titanic on a television budget. The show featured a luxurious nuclear-powered train traveling across America, with each episode focusing on the personal dramas of passengers and crew. The concept seemed foolproof. Take the successful Love Boat formula and move it to an even more impressive vehicle. The execution, however, was a masterclass in how to spend enormous amounts of money while creating very little entertainment. The train itself was an impressive set piece, complete with multiple cars, a shopping center, a swimming pool, and a gymnasium. NBC spared no expense on the physical production, which made it all the more painful when viewers realized the writers had apparently spent their budget on train cars instead of actual stories. Super Train derailed after just 9 episodes, but not before becoming one of the most expensive flops in television history. The show's failure was so spectacular that it effectively ended NBC's experiment with high-concept variety programming. The train may have been nuclear-powered, but the show itself ran on pure desperation. Number 5. Man from Atlantis, 1977 to 1978. NBC's Man from Atlantis gave us Patrick Duffy as Mark Harris, the last survivor of Atlantis who worked with a government foundation while searching for others of his kind. Duffy played the aquatic hero with gills, webbed hands, and a distinctive swimming style that looked like someone doing the butterfly stroke in slow motion. The show was part superhero adventure, part environmental drama, and part excuse to get Duffy wet in every episode. The show's biggest asset was Duffy himself, who committed fully to the role despite some truly ridiculous situations. His Mark Harris was genuinely alien, not just a human with superpowers, but a being from a completely different culture trying to navigate our world. Duffy's earnest performance sold the character even when the scripts didn't quite know what to do with him. Man from Atlantis swam away after 17 episodes, but it served as Duffy's breakout role before he became famous as Bobby Ewing on Dallas. The show has maintained a small but devoted following, particularly among fans of 1970s superhero television. While it never quite lived up to its premise, it offered something genuinely different in an era of cookie-cutter adventure shows. Number 6. Lucan, from 1977 to 1978. ABC's Lucan starred Kevin Brophy as a young man raised by wolves who returns to civilization to search for his true identity. The show was essentially Tarzan meets The Fugitive, with elements of the Incredible Hulk thrown in for good measure. Lucan possessed superhuman senses and abilities learned from his wolf family, but he also struggled with basic human social interactions. The premise had potential for exploring themes of nature versus nurture, civilization versus wilderness, and what it truly means to be human. Unfortunately, the show more often used Lucan's abilities as convenient plot devices while having him wander from town to town helping people with their problems, much like David Banner in The Incredible Hulk. Brophy brought an interesting feral quality to the role, playing Lucan as someone genuinely uncomfortable in human society rather than just a regular guy with enhanced senses. The show's best moments came when it focused on Lucan's struggle to understand human behavior and emotions. But too often, it devolved into standard action-adventure formulas. Lucan howled its last after just 12 episodes. The show suffered from a limited budget that made the wolf flashbacks look like nature documentary outtakes, and writing that never quite committed to either the character study or adventure elements. Brophy largely disappeared from television after the show's cancellation, making Lucan something of a one-hit wonder in the realm of 1970s oddities. Time for another quick check-in. If you actually remember watching any of these shows, you're officially a 1970s television survivor. Like this video, and let us know which of these shows you'd actually want to see rebooted, though honestly, some things are better left in the past. Number 7. Cliffhangers from 1979.
Cliffhangers.
NBC's Cliffhangers was an ambitious attempt to recreate the movie serial experience for television audiences. Each episode featured 3 different adventure serials: Stop Susan Williams, The Secret Empire, and The Curse of Dracula, with each story ending on a literal cliffhanger before continuing the following week. The concept was interesting. Bring back the episodic thrills of 1940s movie serials for a modern television audience. Stop Susan Williams followed Susan Anton as a photographer investigating her brother's death. The Secret Empire was a science fiction western about an underground civilization. And The Curse of Dracula transplanted the vampire to a modern college campus. Kenneth Johnson, who created The Incredible Hulk and V, developed the concept, but even his expertise couldn't make the format work for television. The show needed the kind of production values that simply weren't available for weekly television in 1979, and audiences weren't patient enough to wait for storylines that moved forward in such small increments. Cliffhangers fell off the cliff after just 10 episodes, though all 3 serials were eventually resolved in later airings. The show remains an interesting experiment in television formatting, even if it proved that some concepts work better in theory than in practice. Number 8. Bigfoot and Wild Boy, 1977 to 1978.
Until he grew up to be Wild Boy.
Bigfoot and Wild Boy was exactly what it sounds like. A show about the legendary cryptid and his adopted human son protecting the wilderness from various threats. The series was part of the Croft Super Show, Sid and Marty Krofft's Saturday morning anthology that specialized in live-action children's adventure series with rubber monster suits and environmental messages. Ray Young played Bigfoot, a surprisingly articulate Sasquatch who spoke in simple sentences and possessed superhuman strength. Joseph Butcher played Wild Boy, a young man raised in the forest who served as Bigfoot's companion and translator to the human world. Together, they fought poachers, polluters, and other threats to their woodland home. Bigfoot and Wild Boy lasted 2 seasons as part of various Croft anthology shows, finding its audience primarily among children who were willing to overlook production limitations in favor of adventure and environmental messages. The show has maintained a nostalgic following among viewers who watched it during its original run, though it's more remembered for its earnest weirdness than its entertainment value. And at number 9, Project UFO from 1978 to 1979. Project UFO was Jack Webb's attempt to bring his documentary-style approach to the world of unidentified flying objects. The show was based on the files of Project Blue Book, the U.S. Air Force's real investigation into UFO sightings, and followed 2 Air Force officers as they investigated reports of alien encounters across America. Webb, the creator of Dragnet, brought his trademark Just the Facts approach to extraterrestrial investigations, with episodes structured like police procedurals but focused on mysterious lights in the sky and alleged alien abductions. The show starred William Jordan and Kasky Swaim as the investigating officers, who approached each case with scientific skepticism while remaining open to the possibility of otherworldly explanations. Project UFO flew away after 2 seasons and 26 episodes, but it found its audience among viewers fascinated by the possibility of extraterrestrial life. The show aired during the height of UFO hysteria in America, when Close Encounters of the Third Kind and other alien-themed entertainment had made the subject mainstream. Webb's serious treatment of the material gave the show credibility that most science fiction television lacked, making it a unique entry in both his filmography and 1970s television. These shows may not have lasted long, but they're proof that in the 1970s, network television was willing to take chances on concepts that today would never make it past the pitch meeting. Did any of these ring a bell? Drop a comment with your favorite forgotten oddball from the decade that gave us everything from disco to Star Wars. Like this video if you've enjoyed the trip down television's strangest memory lane, and subscribe for more retro deep dives. And keep watching, because the 1970s had plenty more where these came from.